In lesson 3 of Excel, the most complicated uh, project is the project for the lab. And I want to clarify a few things. Number one, as far as the theme is concerned, the theme that they told you to use was not available in our labs at Questa, so I told my class to use Faucet. I'm not as concerned about whether you use the right theme, although I do want to get colors and fonts that are similar. So you can change the theme. Don't let that be an issue that makes you crazy. First off, okay, so what you're looking at here is a copy of the sheet after they've told you to start getting started. And you've put in some of the data. What I wanted to do was to demonstrate the formulas, because the formulas can be kind of complicated, especially when you're just getting started and just learning the program. So first off, one thing that they did mention was the column width in column, and they told you to readjust these columns all the way through, but I just saved one for you so you can see how it's done. This is column A, and they said to adjust it to 24. Now what I've done is I've clicked my mouse in between the line on A and B. When I hold my mouse down, you can see that it gives me the width of that column. I can now just pull that column over to the number 24, and that will give me the 24 pixels that they told you to apply to that one column. Now in your exercise, you're still going to apply more pixel settings. Now, the other thing that I want to go for is here in I2. In I2, they told you to use the now function. Now, the thing about the now function that's really good is that it's picking up the internal date of your computer. So whenever you use now, it automatically adjusts to whatever date this file is opened up. Now, your functions are you find by using the insert function key, and you'll go straight to now. And now is one of, in this particular sheet, now is one of the more recently used. If it's not on your most recently used, you can go and see that it will also be used in date and time. And the third way to do this would be to go to all and just start typing the word now at the top, and it should go right to it. Okay, so there's your function. Now I click OK, and it's just telling you what it's going to do. Once I click OK, it brings in, right now that had already been formatted. So if mine hadn't been formatted, I would go to the date formats and choose the format, and this was the format style that they chose in the book. Okay, so again, I just went to number formats. A date is technically a number, and it can add, subtract, and multiply just like any other number. It's just a format that you use to make it look like a date. Okay, next process. This was the autofill function, and in the autofill, what we're doing is we're just filling a series. So this series started with the number 1, and so it's going to, again, autofill, if you remember from the first lesson video, is the dark plus, and when I click on it, it activates it, and I hold my mouse down. Now I just pull it across to the end, and I get my series. So, and it'll pick up whatever format you had originally on that particular series as well. Now, one of the most complicated parts of this one is it's telling you on year number 1, and I left year number 1 formula there. It gives you the formula and says that, okay, you're going to the sales from B23, which would be here, okay, and times B24, which is the unit cost, divided by 1 minus B27. So that's the margin minus 1. Now remember the please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. This one is, the parentheses is going to happen first, so you're going to get 1 minus the margin divided by is going to come next, and then the unit cost, which was here, the B24, and then all of that will multiply the units sold. Okay, so that was your first formula. Now the next formula is a little more complicated, so I'm going to go back to my regular view and go into year 2. And in year 2 it says, okay, this time you're going to take B4, whatever in year 1, times 1 plus, and you're doing B25. Now, anytime you come down here to this box that says assumptions, you're using an absolute cell reference. Now, again, I mentioned in the first video about the relative cell reference. Absolutes are really important in that when you copy them, they stay with whatever you've chosen to be the absolute. So right now it's relative because it doesn't have the markings for an absolute cell reference, which would have $ on either side. In order to get those quickly, I just have my cursor on the cell reference and hit my F4 function key. That F4 function key automatically makes that cell an absolute value. Now I want that one is in parentheses. So I want that to happen, and then I want the next thing to happen in parentheses. Because again, order of, it's multiplication. Order of operations is the items in parentheses first, but because I have 2 items in parentheses, it's going to be from left to right. So it's going to perform those actions first, and I'm going to go 1 plus, and this time B26, and it's an annual % increase, and for some reason it's a 0 right now, but I hit F4 function key, go in and finish this formula off, and now it's just saying that, okay, this first section is going to multiply first, add first, then the second section is going to add, then the multiplication is going to happen. So it's going to go multiply, multiply, multiply. Okay, now that is the whole formula, and I'm just going to hit enter. And now all I have to do, since that formula follows through, and if you notice, okay, B4 is not absolute, only B25 and B26 are. So that means when I come to year 3 and copy this across, now I'm going to see that now it says C4, so it's actually taking year 2. This one says D4, so it's taking year 3, and so on. So the absolute cell references are staying down in my little assumptions area, but the relative cell references are changing. And that's the difference between absolute and relative. Now let's go to the cost of goods sold. So in this formula, we were equaling, okay, whatever is the sale of that item times 1 minus, and we're going down to the margin. Okay, now again, you should be saying to yourself, oh, she went down to the assumptions, therefore that is absolute. And here we go. And that follows through all the way through all of the cost of goods, so cost of goods formulas. So it'll come through here. Now we go to the gross margin. The gross margin is the sales minus the cost of goods. No, it says minus B5, so it would be, yeah, the sales minus the cost of goods. Okay, so now I'm looking at, the thing that I want to make sure that you're doing is you are not typing in these cell references. I'm going to say that over and over again. Notice I'm clicking my mouse, because so then I know, okay, that's the concept that I want to do. I want to equal sales minus cost of goods. That's my gross margin. Enter. And that's what that should be. So now I just copy that one all the way across. and I've got my gross margin. Now the advertising, I don't know that I completely agreed with the way they had you do it, only because they gave you some numbers for advertising, a percentage for advertising percentage, salaries percentage, shipping percentage, and supplies percentage. Now I could have provided another column down here, or another assumption area, okay? And I could put it in as expense and what would I do? I would put in advertising. The next one was salaries. The next is shipping, and then supplies. Okay, now if I wanted to get this going here, let's see, advertising is 7.5%. Oh, and that's another good thing, is if you don't have it formatted for percent and you use the format, the percent sign, it will automatically do that. But if I didn't have this formatted for percent, I would have to hit just do the percent equivalent, which would be like, no, it'd be 0.3, no, 0.3% would be 0.34, like that. And then this would be 0.011. Okay. Now I can format these for percent using the percent sign as well. I just want to show you both ways. And then increase the decimal. And I've got the numbers that are in the activity. Now, just to make this interesting, I might use my format painter and format this. Now, this was not in the exercise. I'm just showing you another alternative way to do it. So you don't have to do it this way, but I like this way. I think it makes more sense to me. Okay, so now I'm coming up to advertising and I'm saying, okay, why did they use $1,500 as a base price advertising? Let's do advertising. All right, that would make more sense to me as well. And I'll put in the 1,500. And I'm going to show you why in a minute, but let's see. And possibly wrap this text here. Okay, so now we're in the advertising formula and I'm going, okay, equals the 1,500 plus this percentage. Oh, wait a second. So I needed to make that one absolute and this one absolute. And now times B4. Okay, and B4 is not absolute. So now this is going to make more sense in a second. And I can just grab that across. And then you can see my numbers. Now, the reason why I like this process, let's say something changes and I want my advertising to be 8.5. So I don't have to change any formulas. I've got it right here in my table. And I've changed it back to the other. Okay, so the salaries are, let's see, equals the 14% times the sales. And again, 14% would have been F4 function key. And again, if I wanted to change that percentage, I just have to change it down in my table. I don't change it in the formulas in the spreadsheet. And that's one of the reasons why I love absolute cell references and try to plan out all my spreadsheets that way. So now this one equals the shipping, F4 function key times, and again, it's the sales. And here we go. Now let's do the supplies. and that equals the supplies, F4 function key, times the sales again, and pull her across. And you may note that these numbers were already formatted. The number formats, I believe that you understand how to do those, so I'm not going to demonstrate them. But now, if we look here, we're going to go into the auto sum function and then pull this across, and you've got a basic in that one. Now, in this you have an if statement, so we'll come down to the in if, and it says if the what does it say, 35%? Oh, okay, we should add that as well. Income tax. And we're going to put that at 35%. Okay, and let's see here. All right, so let's build this formula. This one starts with the fx. Now, an if function is pretty nice in that it always has three components. See, it has your logical test, your true portion, and your false portion. So once I click on OK here, you're going to see a nice little menu that gives you hints on whatever you're doing with your if function. So the logical test for this one is, oh, we haven't created the operating income, but we can do that after we've done this. So operating income, if the operating income is less than 0, then the true portion is 0. If not, then they got to go down to the income tax at 35%, which is an F4 function key. Oh, it's 35% times B17, which is the operating expense. So they're just saying, okay, if nothing's there, then it's going to be 0. If something is there, then it's going to be it's going to be the absolute, the income tax times the operating income. Okay. Now, so it's 0 right now, and it'll be 0 all the way across because I don't have my operating income in there yet. But my operating income is supposed to be the gross margin minus the total expenses. Okay, and those are not down in my table area, so I'm going to hit enter and copy this all the way across and see how the income tax just normally calculated. Now the net income equals the operating expense, the operating income minus the income tax. Hit enter and pull her across. And then the only thing I can see is possibly grabbing this format here, so my formats all look good. All right, so that that's this particular part of the sheet. Oh, and you did do a Sparkline chart. So you came here and you did an insert, and it's under Sparklines. Where are they? Here they are. And we did a column chart, I believe. So what it does is you just need your range, and they always, when you do a Sparkline chart, it's always looking for a range. And so in this case, we're doing the years. Okay, and notice these are not absolute because I'm going to copy this down, and so it's going to be relative to wherever the cell is. But here we go, and I copy it down, and there's my Sparkline charts. Okay, so that gives you a basic idea with those particular charts. Now, They do have a projected net income chart that starts working on this, and they also do have what you call a what if statement. And I was trying to find where the exact amount was that they showed you for the what if statement. Okay, the what if statement is instruction for part number 3. It's instruction number 2. And it says determine a margin that would result in year 8 net income of 500,000 and save the workbook. Okay, so you want to determine the margin. So what you would do is you come to data and you come up to a what if analysis and do a goal seek. And this is your cell, your I-19 that you're working with. I already had my cursor there when I started. So, and I want to change it to the value of 500,000 by changing, and it says by changing the margin. So here's the margin. And all I have to do now is notice this is at 876. This is at 29.9. When I click on OK, it's at 29.27, and I get a 500 margin, okay, $500,000 net income. So the thing that's really nice about this is that you can do all sorts of assumptions with it, and it will work with any solid. It needs to have a constant over here and a calculation over in this area, or that we can make a constant value. Okay, so that gives you the basics there. And I'm going to make a separate video. This one's gotten a little long for graphs, because I did read a note that people were having problems with their graphs. So I'm going to show you this, and you'll have it to refer to for lesson number 3. Thank you. Bye.